Hey everyone, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com, and this is a very, very special edition of the Fast Count. I'm going to call it Angry Vince Edition. Why is it Angry Vince Edition? You'll find out soon. Let's go on the Fast Count. First, let's start off with all of this week's WWE news. Our first story involves Vince McMahon being quite angry. That's one, throw up one on the Angry Vince counter. Please, Richard. Yes, on Monday Night Raw, according to Wrestling Observer, Vince McMahon cut short Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar's promo. I say Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman's promo, it was pretty much just Paul Heyman's promo, and Lesnar stood there just raking in the cash just for doing this. Oh, second week in a row, Fast Count's been interrupted, this time by Chris. Cheers, Chris, mate.
It's alright, I'll wait for you to finish your point for f***ing sake. Come on. Sorry.
It's alright, mate. I say second week in a row, second time this week. Working conditions here are appalling.
Are you getting your own shows mixed up, mate? Come on now.
The editors are revolting. Like, they're revolting against me, they're not revolting people. Bet this never happens to KSI. The aim of the promo, if we can just get back on track for a second, was to get Paul Heyman to get the crowd to cheer for Goldberg and boo Brock Lesnar. Slight problem there, they were in Brock Lesnar's hometown. Heyman is usually very, very good in this sort of tight situation, but even he couldn't turn that Minnesota crowd against Brock Lesnar. Instead, they were chanting for Lesnar, they were chanting Goldberg sucks. Heyman tried to pick on one Goldberg fan in the crowd, it didn't really work, and then apparently Vince gave the call and they hit Brock Lesnar's music and cut the segment short. Awkward times. It wasn't the best promo at all, and you can sort of see why Vince was annoyed, but at the same time, I have to disagree with the overall decision anyway to try and turn the crowd against Brock Lesnar in Minnesota. Next up, Austin Aries has been injured at a recent NXT house show in a match with Shinsuke Nakamura. The pair suffered a very slight miscommunication. Austin was turning around for some kind of discus clothesline or punch. Shinsuke aimed to kick at him and he sort of leant his face right into Shinsuke's boot and his eye was badly swollen. Check out Austin Aries' social media accounts to see just how bad the injury looks, but thankfully it is quite a minor one and he should be back on track pretty soon. And finally, the Headbangers are set to return next week on SmackDown Live. Both Mosh and Thrasher announced on Twitter that they will be returning to SmackDown in their home state of New Jersey to try and win a place on that SmackDown Survivor Series team. Can they do it? No. Of course they f***ing can't. And just one last thing on this story. Mosh is verified on Twitter, but Thrasher isn't. Hashtag verify Thrasher. Hashtag verify Jack the Jobber. Hashtag verify Thrasher. Hashtag verify Jobber. Stop laughing because this is serious. It's time to look at all the news from elsewhere in the f***ing insane world of pro wrestling. And not just that, but it's time to sound the boring news klaxon. Hit that shit. That's right, the TNA versus Billy Corgan lawsuit is underway. Billy Corgan is attempting to get a temporary injunction from the promotion, from Dixie Carter, and if he wins, that will effectively hand control of TNA over to him. Now, according to Nate Rao of the Tennessean, the prosecution have argued that Corgan is the saviour of the company, the man who stepped in and invested when they couldn't afford to run their weekly TV shows anymore. Dixie Carter, or TNA's defence, said Billy Corgan is worse than many loan sharks. This is all a harebrained scheme that he hatched. You know, it was a premeditated scheme to win control of the wrestling promotion in an underhanded sort of way. Who do you believe? Obviously, for legal reasons, we can't insinuate that one person or the other is particularly... But if I had to just give my own opinion, Dixie's got a history of being a bit of a bullshit, hasn't she? Can't tell for certain, but it looks like this could be the end of the road for her. Who knows? Again, legal reasons, can't say. And Dixie versus Billy Corgan is probably my feud of the year so far. Hopefully it ends in some kind of stipulation match. Now on to our second point, and this concerns the Hardy Boys, Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, and the fact that they look to be about to embark on a new feud with the DCC. Over on Impact, we had a Halloween special, or hashtag treat or delete, where various kids would come to the front door of the Hardy household and Matt would hand out green beans rather than actual sweets, because of course he would, it's Matt Hardy. And the Hurricanes showed up and they were like, you're too old for this, get out of here. And then Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton showed up, or, you know, fake Donald Trump and fake Hillary Clinton, and they were chased off. Senor Benjamin tasered Donald Trump for what he said about Mexicans. It was actually quite good. It was all right. It was okay. Then at the end of all these little vignettes that aired throughout Impact, the Hardy Boys received a message on their laptop, and they all, you know, the whole family gathered round and watched the laptop, and on it was a message from the DCC, this mysterious new kind of trio, all wearing matching black robes and white face masks, who have only appeared in TNA once so far, I think, doing a beatdown. But now they've issued a proper challenge to Matt and Jeff, Nero, excuse me. And I'm not going to spoil who's underneath the masks. It's an easy Google search if you want to know. But I'm particularly excited for one of them. I think he's been fantastic on the indies over the past few years and really deserves this chance. Really excited for him. Google it if you want, don't if you don't want to. I'm sure it'll be revealed anyway pretty soon. And finally, there's been a title change over in the wacky world of Lucha Underground. Not the main championship, but the Gift of the Gods championship, which is kind of their mixture between the Intercontinental title and the Money in the Bank briefcase. It entitles the holder to a title shot at some point in the near future. Sexy Star was the reigning champion, and she lost to Johnny Mundo in a match rife with shenanigans and interferences. And in the end, Johnny Mundo won with a shot from a set of brass knuckles while the referee was distracted. So, wasn't the best match at all. Lucha Underground continues to be a little bit slow at the start of season 3, but hopefully they can pick up steam. I feel like I'm saying that every week now. But Johnny Mundo is the new Gift of the Gods champion, and he should be getting a title shot at some point in theory. Are you hungry? I'm not, because our office canteen was closed and I had to go to Greg's for my lunch, and now I'm very full. I had a chicken katsu, like lattice pastry. It was delicious and apparently not too calorific either. But wherever you are this weekend, I hope you treat yourself to a takeaway. It's time to look at all of this week's takeaways. First of all, it's time to bring up the Angry Vince counter again, because Vince McMahon is apparently the only person backstage in WWE who doesn't want Charlotte and Sasha Banks to headline this weekend's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, according to Wrestling Observer. But what do you think? Do you think Charlotte and Sasha should main event the pay-per-view? They are probably the hottest feud on the show right now, I guess, because the main event scene's been a bit confusing with Jericho thrown in there. Roman Reigns v Rusev's just, you know, Roman Reigns v Rusev's not been too good. So yeah, do you think Charlotte and Sasha should main event the pay-per-view? What do you think? Do they deserve to? Hell. Richard raises a very good point there. He's saying don't do it for the sake of it, and I agree. I don't think they should main event because it's like, oh, here's a treat for being so good at women's wrestling. It should be more of an organic thing and something that really deserves it. At the same time, the other matches are a bit weak as well, so does it deserve it just by default? Who knows? Certainly not us. We've disagreed. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Time to bring up the Angry Vince counter again. That's 3 of our 9 stories. A third of today's show has centered around Vince being angry. Apparently, again, according to the Wrestling Observer, he does not enjoy Becky Lynch's accent. Take down one of the Angry Vince things. I've been corrected. It's actually Kevin Dunn, he basically is Vince McMahon. So we got 2 Vinces and 1 Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn doesn't like Becky Lynch's accent because he's soulless. Just a soulless man who hasn't felt the touch of a loving woman in a long time, I imagine. I can't say that. He might have done it. He's probably married. Who knows? Yeah, do you think, this is my point, sorry. Do you think that wrestlers should be more tightly scripted and encouraged to tone down their accents slightly, or do you think they should be more themselves? If they've got a distinctive accent, should they bring it out, or should they fall more in line? Which one do you think? There's obviously pros and cons to both. If we go back to the Attitude Era, the quality of promos was all over the place. Some were really good, like The Rock and everyone. Some were really bad. These days, everything's kind of just meh, and no one really gets a chance to shine on the microphone as much as they used to, unless you wrestle on SmackDown, where things look to be going back to the good old ways, in my opinion. But what do you think? And finally, if Billy Corgan does win his legal case against Dixie Carter and TNA, and does assume control of the company, how do you think he'll change it? Do you think he'll change the name? What do you think he'll change the name to from TNA? Because it's been heavily implied that he doesn't think that's viable anymore. I'd quite agree. What do you think you'll change it to? And do you think he'll succeed in sort of reinvigorating the second biggest promotion in North America? So that's all for this week on the Fast Count. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber. I'd highly recommend you do, because last night I killed a massive wasp in the bathroom of my flat at 1 a.m. And honestly, I'm so scared of wasps, and I took the liberty of videoing it for content for you people. So follow me on Twitter if you don't. If that's not a good enough advert, I don't know what is. And that's been the Fast Count. See you soon.
Taking out Hendry, and now Rhodes, Crossroads by Cody Rhodes on the WCPW World Champion, and now the son of the American Dream, staring at his own reflection in the WCPW World Title belt.
This Saturday on an all-new episode of WCW
After last week's vicious attack, Miss Roxy seeks revenge on Kimberly. And Joseph Connors will defend his WCPW championship against the star that left him in the dust, Cody Rhodes. All this and more Saturday, 8 p.m., 3 p.m. Eastern on WhatCulture Wrestling.